What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? This is Vera, and today we're going to be reading 1 Corinthians. Let's see, verses 31. I'm sorry, 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verses 31 through 40. This is kind of a special video. It's really not really meant for the public per se. I guess, and you can read it, and it's an interesting thing to see. But it's really more meant for the other biblical characters, other biblical characters that are reincarnated onto the earth, and specifically certain ones of them. And so. Well, one of the things that's interesting about Corinthians and all of the books that Paul wrote is that they are the most hard books to interpret. He speaks in a very interesting way, and it's kind of just very abnormal speech that he uses. And the reason he does this is to keep certain understanding, and in a way, to keep certain understanding from certain people, and to allow certain people to understand, specifically the saints, who will read this later on in new bodies, with a new understanding, to be able to understand it in an intuitive level that really only they can understand. There really isn't anyone else in the world right now that can actually understand what I'm reading, except for myself. And that's a very large claim to make, and I know that. But I'm going to explain to you what I mean in just a second. So the whole Bible is multidimensional in nature, and there are multiple layers of everything that is in the Bible. And so every religion and ideology has their own interpretation of what it says, and they claim it to be true. For example, the Christians read the same thing, and they have their own understanding of it, and it makes sense to them. But one of the things about the saints, us, myself, and these people, other people that I'm addressing now, is that we don't, like I just said, I'm the only one who can interpret this, because I'm the only one who's in tune with the higher realms to the extent that I am, and the only one that has God, kind of, up front with him, all the time, talking to him and teaching and guiding him. But the thing that I've learned, and I've actually known for a while, is that we take turns on different timelines doing this. There's a timeline where you, Jermichael, reincarnated Philip, are the one that is doing what I'm doing right now, going through the dice work period and going through the trial and whatever. There's the one where you, Asai, are the one who's doing all this. There's one where, wait, hold on though. I don't think Asai would be doing it. Well, actually, Philip would be doing it. I don't know if Asai would, because he's not one of the 12. He's Saul, who came after. He's actually would be the one who was writing these verses back then. So it would be. I don't think it wouldn't be Asai. It would be Jermichael, or it could also be Bobby, Dro, or Ryan. Or Henry, or whoever, anyone who is one of the 12 original disciples can't actually, has their own lifetime where they are the lead, or the one who is in the dice work period, who kind of goes ahead and learns everything and turns around and sends the message to everyone else. And so, and it actually talks about this right here in this in these verses. We're gonna start. I didn't interpret. I actually just read this and figured this out, or at least to the extent that I'm about to show. I kind of read it a little bit before, and then I came back to it today. And all these verses before, I'm sure they lead up to what I'm going to now. But as I'm trying to read it, I am still in the diasporic school, and so it's very hard to read, very hard to interpret. I got all these different things blocking me and coming down and doing whatever else. So it's hard to interpret, and there's just a lot going on already before I get there anyways. I don't know where to start either. So anyways, I'm really kind of focusing on the part, verse 33, for God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints. But I'm going to read all of this so you can get a fuller understanding. So here we go. Verse 31. For ye may all prophesy one by one, that all may learn, and all may be comforted. So what he's talking about literally is the one by one that I was just talking about, where we all take turns in different timelines, so that all of us can be the ones who learn, and all of us can, with the understanding that we all do become these saints, the main saint, or I guess the one who is ahead instead of saying the main. We'll all be comforted in that thought. He's not better than me. I'm not lesser than him. We're all equal. It's just we're on this particular timeline for now. And so, we all, and then it says before that, we all learn. So we're all taught by each other. And it says you again before that, one by one. So there's that, and then, and the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. So that's interesting. It kind of threw me off a little bit actually to read that. And actually, it's kind of interesting when you think about it, because that verse is kind of off. It just kind of comes out of nowhere, and you just start talking about spirits of the prophets, the subjects of the prophets. But it doesn't really mean anything by itself. It doesn't mean anything by itself. At least not as far as this translation that I'm giving goes. As far as this kind of deeper, kind of secret, almost translation that I'm giving now. You have to put it with the next verse where it says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints." And so here's an interesting thing too. I gotta go into in a second, but what it's saying is that during the diasporic period, and you guys know too, especially my dad and my brothers too. Some of my brothers, at least I know Ray does. Where I was saying all these different things, like I'm going to see Angelina, or this particular thing will happen. We're going to win the lottery at this particular time, or it's going to end. The diasporic period will end at this time, or whatever. And I'm prophesying, but nothing's happening, and so the the spirit of the prophet, me myself in this case, is subject to myself. It's just no one's making me prophesy. No one's forcing me to do it. I'm getting these different messages, and I'm getting these different words that are from the higher realms that are saying say this and do this, as a part of the school, and as part of discernment and discerning for myself and acting on my own, regardless of the influences that are around me, and but I'm going out there and I'm saying and doing them anyways, because I'm ignorant at the time and don't know. And one of the things I did learn is that I didn't have to say those things. I didn't have to prophesy at all. Because one of the things I was kind of uneasy with doing that, because I didn't know if these things would have happened. I've been prophesying for the last 3 years and saying all these different things for the last 3 years, and it would seem that nothing was coming out of it, and that I'm lost or whatever. But it says right here that for God is not the author of confusion, but He's the author of peace. And so it's saying that it's confusing to have someone come and prophesy about things and things not happen. And it's confusing for me to be prophesying about things and have them not happen. And so it is my own fault when it comes down to it. But it's saying more than one thing when it says God is not the author of confusion. I'm going to tell you what that means in a second. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. So again, it's my own fault, and it's not God's fault. He is the author of peace, and the point of the school wasn't for me to be prophesying. It wasn't for me. It just like I said, it wasn't about me, listening to the voices and going and doing anything. It was about discernment, learning how to be my own center and stay in the center with all these other influences coming around me. Basically the point of this school really is peace. It's not really anything else, or too much of anything else, at least. It's definitely, if not the whole point, the main point is peace. And with all these just different kind of things that are happening around me, and so as in all the churches of the saints. And so again, it's talking about this one by one that I was talking about a second ago, where we're all taking turns. The churches are the me here now in this timeline with you guys all around me is one church, and then in another timeline where Ure or whoever is the main or the lead, and the people around them, that's another church. And so and you can tell if you're just reading these things, you can tell for God is not the author of confusion but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints. What does that even mean? And that sentence makes absolutely no sense. You can sit here and try to speculate and say all kind of stuff like, for God is not the author of confusion but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints. So the churches of the saints back then, when we departed from Jesus, and we went on our journeys, and we lived for quite a while, and at some point in time we had churches with our names or whatever, and God would speak in the churches or come through and speak to people in the churches or whatever, and there was no confusion. Like, that's too much thinking outside of what it's saying. You have to know already what it's saying for you to be able to interpret why it would just all of a sudden say, as in all the churches of the saints. And I just told you why it says that. So, now let's go back again. For God is not the author, and it's very interesting because it says the author in italics for no reason. Apparently, there's no reason for it to say that in italics, unless there's something, it's saying something else. And the reason why it says that is because it's putting emphasis on the author. God is the writer of confusion, and is writing confusion right now with me. It is happening, and the only reason I'm confused to any extent at all, and whatever else kind of dismay that I'm experiencing, is because of God, and that's plain and simple. That's what it's doing for a particular reason. But the author is not the author of confusion, because the only time you become an author is when you're finished writing, when the work is done and it's published. And so when it is finished, done, and published, ultimately it will not have been a confusing thing. There will be answers, there will be clarity, and so ultimately, when God brings you through something like this and through something like this, there won't be any confusion in the end. And then if you look at it on a greater scale, whatever you go through, on your whole spiritual journey through the entirety of creation, when you rise back up to the source, to the fullness of perspective, there will not be and cannot be any sort of confusion at all. And so it's an absolute statement. God is not the author of confusion. The finished product will not be in confusion. So let's move on. Let your women keep silence in the churches. The churches are again, being in the diasporic period, being the lead, being the main, and having these people around you. And your women are your twin flame. Angelina is my woman, and she's a part of our church. And she cannot speak to me while I'm here. That's all that's saying. For it is not permitted unto them to speak. Plain and simple. But they are commanded to be under obedience. So, you, when you're here in your timeline in the diasporic period, you will, you will not be able to hear any real messages from your twin flame. I get, kind of, I guess, verbally accurate phrases and wordings and stuff like that from her that are just kind of projections, I guess, from her subconscious mind, in a sense, that the higher realms are bringing to me, and it's kind of portrayed as a real thing, but it's not actually a real thing. And so, let me see. So again, it's not permitted for them to speak. They are commanded, and it says it in italics. And we'll see in a second why it's saying that. They are commanded. It's just saying that they're commanded. What it's saying is that they know that they can't say anything to you while they're there in their other world, because her in her world where she is experiencing a similar thing with God coming to her and bringing her, shifting her perception and bringing her somewhere else, in a sense, as far as just the way her world behaves and the way she sees everything. And but it's the positive side. So, but in her world, she obviously has some sort of connection with the higher realms, so that she, and when I say she, I'm kind of talking about whatever, doesn't matter which timeline and who's twin flame, but they will have been told that they can't talk, and it says, as also saith the law. It might actually be talking about law in the Bible, probably in the Old Testament somewhere, but I haven't read that. I don't know about the law and all that stuff. So it's kind of like a confusing thing to see that where it says also saith, as also saith the law, because then it kind of almost in a way proves my point wrong. But I wonder, as also saith the law. Hold on, let me see. Give me 1 second. It says, hold on. But they are commanded to be under obedience, as also, okay, so it doesn't actually make a point to prove what I'm saying wrong at all. It says, as also saith the law. So what it's saying is that it's saying the law says something like this. Also, it's saying that they are commanded to be under obedience, similar to what the law has said. So it basically is saying, there's the law and the crap that the law says that's not really true, and there's obviously a complete, injustice if we were to practice it in reality. And then there's what this is saying right here, which is a whole another kind of different commandment that is just a part of the diasporic period, and is a reasonable and it's a reasonable kind of thing that is happening in the diasporic period, so that there isn't, so that the nature of the school isn't compromised. So I hope you understood what I was trying to say. I hope you understood what I'm trying to say. My Bible fell apart, it's falling apart, so I'm gonna have to put it back together. Sorry. Okay, so I put it back together, and I had to regroup for a second. Okay, so here's the easier way to understand what I just said. It says, "As also saith the law," and not "as saith the law." And if it was talking about the law as the law in the Old Testament, it would just say they were commanded to be under obedience as saith the law. But it says "as also" because it's showing separation between what the law is saying and what he's saying here. But there is a similarity in some sense. So, anyways, and if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home. So they can't talk to me while I'm here. They can't ask me anything while I'm here or while we're here. But once we get to where we're going, to home, where we're supposed to be with them, then they can ask us whatever they want to ask. So let me see. For it is a shame for women to speak in the church. That's just what I was just saying. And I'll just explain it. It would compromise the integrity of the school for that to happen. So let me see. What came the word of God out of you, or came it unto you only? So now what it's talking about is the multidimensional communication. It's very tricky, and you have to be the person that is supposed to be interpreting this to be able to interpret it, because it doesn't. I mean, this verse absolutely makes no sense. It says what, and then it has a question mark, which is cool, but then it has a lowercase c, and then it has a sentence that ends in a question mark for no reason, when it should just keep going. It should say, what, capital C, came the word out of God, came the word of God out from you, or came it unto you only? One single sentence with a comma instead of a question mark after you. And then again, lowercase o, or came it unto you only. So it's just letting you know, pay attention, and you'll understand what it's trying to say. And so what is the confusion that I'm asking? Because this whole time I've been asking, am I speaking multidimensional communication to other people, or am I just hearing it? Came the word of God out of you? God is speaking through me to you. That's why you hear me the way that you hear me. The reason why it sounds like I'm angelic or whatever, that I'm speaking in a multidimensional way, is because God is speaking through me to you. That's not me doing that consciously. I'm just talking, and then its intelligence knows how to do that. Or came it unto you only because you talk to me that way. I hear you like that all the time. And so, if any man thinks himself to be a prophet or spiritual, let him acknowledge that the things that I write unto you are the commandments of the Lord. This is beautiful, because they knew that at this precise time, I just read this today, at this precise time, what I'd be thinking and how I'd be, the state of mind I'd be in, and everything. And it says, if he thinks of himself to be a prophet, and this is one of the things I've been kind of going back and forth about, is whether or not to say certain prophetic things. When is the Galactic Federation gonna come? When is the Ishai gonna come? I've been being told when they're gonna come, and whatever else, and when Angelina's gonna arrive. I've been being told that, and I've been going, dang it, this is this diaspora school. The channeling is kind of messed up here. I don't want to believe any of the things that I'm getting, because it can be false, just like it was before. But I'm being assured of these things, and so, but I still, I have my doubts or whatever. But I have decided, I want to prophesy, and I'm gonna tell people that I'm being told that these things are gonna happen soon. And so, so it says, if any man thinks himself to be a prophet, that's me thinking myself to be a prophet, and to be spiritual. It's freaking amazing that they know that. I knew I was going to be thinking that, in the way I would be feeling. To be spiritual, be myself. That's just how I am. Just spiritual, and just being myself. And then you kind of have to, in this sense, you would have to be me to understand exactly why it says be spiritual. But you had your turn in a different lifetime, and you're having your turn in a different lifetime. So, that's for you in another time. Let him acknowledge that the things that I write unto you are the commandments of the Lord. And it's talking about Jesus. Actually, that's interesting. Unto you are the commandments of the Lord. I wonder if that's God or Jesus. Are the commandments of God? No. I have to consider both sides. If it's God, it will be God talking to Saul, saying, okay, so it's Jesus then. So Jesus knew where I'd be, what I'd be thinking, and everything, how I'd be feeling, and let him acknowledge it. And he told Saul to tell me this, or tell us this, and on different timelines. And what I just did just now to decipher which, what it's saying. Well, for one, when I first read it, I knew it was Jesus as soon as I saw Lord, because that's what they call Jesus, and you have to be able to know certain things, because the different things it says, like sovereign Lord, the Lord God and different stuff, it means different things, and there's reasons why they change it around. But then I channeled real fast, and God, it wouldn't even let me think that it was Him, God's source itself, but it told me, basically pointing me in the direction that it was talking about Jesus, which is what I thought in the first place. But anyways, so Jesus knew that. He told Saul to say that, and then, but if any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant. So, I kind of skipped that because I'm not ignorant, and I figured out what it was saying. So yeah, and wherefore, brethren, okay, I'll explain it. If you're, it says, if any man, think himself a prophet or spiritual, let him acknowledge the things, whatever. So I figured out what it was saying through intuition, just by knowing, just by reading it and looking at it and thinking about it. It automatically just came to me. So that be ignorant only would apply to me if I had remained ignorant, and I would not have known what this is saying anyways. So it just doesn't matter. That verse really doesn't even matter. Wherefore, brethren, covet to prophecy. Speak on those things, that they're telling you are going to happen in the future. And forbid not to speak with tongues, which is something. So he's kind of being nice, and I thank you very much, Saul, for doing that, because he's kind of something that I've been kind of battling is, whether or not I should consciously try to speak in the multidimensional communication, which is what tongues is. And especially here, right here, what it's saying is speaking specifically about the multidimensional communication. So, I've been, wondering about whether I should try it, because I'm trying to kind of learn it and see how it works, and if I can do it myself without God doing what it's doing. And so he's kind of encouraging me to do that. And let all be done decently in order. That was just kind of a good way to end it. And so, and it has all been going in order, and I do respect you, and I respect just everyone who's involved with this. So, and, it's just good advice, and something that I'm glad I was reminded of, to just be decent with giving this knowledge, giving my understanding, dealing with other people who have different understandings, and just saying this kind of very, I guess, it's just information that's not the easiest thing to say and the easiest thing to receive either, sometimes. So, just dealing decently with that side of it. So that's really all I wanted to say, and just like I was saying, as far as being confused or whatever, like I said, God is a writer of confusion, but not the author of it. And so that's that for now, and we'll come back with more another time. I appreciate you guys. I love you. Thank you very much. Peace.